What's going on, YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today I'm giving you my picks for Week 13 of the NFL season. Hopefully you all are doing really well, and hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, hit that like button and help me out a ton. And if you're new to the channel, want to see more football content like this in your life, hit that big red subscribe button. And most importantly, comment your picks for the week down in the comment section. Who are some upset picks you're looking at for this upcoming week? I'd love to talk some football with you down in the comment section. If you're new to these videos, we're talking picks against the spreads, and I'll also include my record to this point in the year down at the bottom of the screen right now. But let's jump right into it, starting with Thursday Night Football. I'm taking the Cowboys to win, and 4.5 points, though, with the Saints announcing Taysom Hill is going to be the starting quarterback. I am kind of intrigued by that. So I'd take New Orleans to cover the 4.5, but I'd take the Cowboys to win this one. I think Taysom Hill just kind of has that Jalen Hurts-esque factor where the rushing ability kind of gives you a higher floor as an offense, and hopefully, you know, Alvin Kamara can play, and because you have Taysom Hill, it opens up the offense and the running game in specific a little bit more. But I still like Dallas is just a better football team, and they're a little less banged up right now than New Orleans. Atlanta and Tampa Bay, I'll take the Bucs to win and cover. I know Atlanta's still in the hunt in the NFC, but overall these are two teams heading in the opposite direction. Remember what the Patriots did to Atlanta 2 weeks ago? I think Tampa Bay has a similar capability of doing something like that. Now, I don't know if it's 25-0, but it could be, 30-10 or something like that. So I'm feeling pretty good about the Bucs. I think they got back on track in a big way starting on Monday night against the Giants a couple weeks back. Cardinals and Bears. I'm definitely taking Arizona to win. Should see Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins back in the lineup. And because of that, I'd probably go Arizona to go ahead and cover that 7.5. I know it's a big number, and so far, I said the Saints will cover 4.5. I just think the talent discrepancy between the Bucs and Falcons and then the Cardinals and Bears is a little too large to be able to stay within this one-score margin here for Chicago and Arizona, and 11-point differential for Tampa and Atlanta. So I'm picking a lot of road teams to win. Road favorites, that's going to be something I'm sure I regret. Chargers and Bengals, these are both teams that are kind of up and down. I think I'm going to go with the Chargers. 4 for 4 picking road teams. Nothing could go wrong there. But I just think the Chargers need a bounce-back win, right? Yeah, disappointing loss to the Broncos. And this team is just up and down week last week. Trent would then say up week this week. And additionally, same thing can be said about Cincinnati. They're actually coming off a big emotional win at home against Pittsburgh. You knocked down older brother, right? I think there's naturally some potential for a drop-off and some disappointment this week, and I think that all could come to fruition. And plus, I think talent-wise, these two teams are pretty similar. Burrow, Herbert, two up-and-coming young quarterbacks, two of the best in the biz right now. They both have rushing attacks. They both have running backs that fit that offense. They both have wide receivers. And I think really maybe the differential, and if you're going to pick the Bengals, is you trust their play calling a little bit more compared to Joe Lombardi and the Chargers. I'm going to push that aside for this week, and I'm going to go with the Chargers winning. On the road, I'm going to take another road team here. I got the Vikings over the Lions. The Lions are just disappointing right now, and I know a lot of people are saying Dan Campbell's on the hot seat right now, but a 6-year contract, even if he goes winless, I don't know if that really comes to fruition. He gets fired. I get, if you don't win one game in a season, it should be considered. I do think Detroit will win a game, and that'll for sure make him safe, but this is a long-term rebuild, and this team is just not good. There's only a couple of players you might look at and say they could be a part of that team in 5 years when they are competing to get in the playoffs or potentially in the Super Bowl conversation. So they're a long ways away. And, the Vikings, they got to have some of these wins start to pile up, right? If they're going to be serious playoff contenders and work their way into that 7th spot in the NFC, this is a game you got to have. So I think all that adds to levity, increases the stakes, and the Vikings show up. Plus, the game's at 1, so Kirk Cousins should play pretty well. Then we got the Giants and Dolphins. What a win last week for the Giants. Really, you look at the defenses in specific. These are two teams whose defenses are starting to step up and get where we thought they would be coming into the year. Patrick Graham's done a fantastic job, and Brian Flores running that Miami defense has done a terrific job over the past couple of weeks as well. Ultimately, in a lot of ways, these two teams are very similar, right? Bad offensive lines, young quarterbacks that teams are unsure about. I think I'm going to take Miami at home. I think there's a little bit more stability on the offensive side. They're finding ways to get Jalen Waddle the football in 2 seconds or less, right? And I think Tua can fit within that offense. So I understand the offensive line is egregious. I just think that offense has been able to mold itself in a way where it hides that weakness. The Giants, not so much. I know they beat the Eagles last week, but a lot of that was really on the backs of the defense. I think it'll be a little different this week. Plus, going down to Miami, makes it tough for the Giants for sure. We got the Eagles and the Jets. I'll take Philadelphia to win. I think the Jets can cover this mark. Jets are coming off a big win against the Texans. I don't want to say big win. You knocked off a 2-win Texans team. But it was a win for Zach Wilson, his second in his career, right? So I'm sure that felt good. And he still didn't play great, but they found a way to win that game, and that's an encouraging sign for Robert Saleh and his tenure as the Jets head coach. Eagles are just a better football team, but that said, Jalen Hurts was a little banged up throughout the week. Is he going to be fully at 100%? I don't know. So I do like Philadelphia to win this, but I think I like the Jets to be able to cover the 7. Colts and Texans. Yeah, I'm going to go Colts to win and cover here. Thought about it. Division games can be kind of weird, and if that's your rationale, I can see where you say, hey, Houston can cover these 10 points. And I don't think the Texans are really as bad a roster as we might have thought they would be coming into the season. And Tyrod Taylor gives them a nice floor, right? It's similar to what we were just talking about at the start of the video with Taysom Hill, right? He has that rushing ability, but Tyrod Taylor actually has a really good arm as well. We saw that zip that he had on that touchdown pass to Brandon Cooks. That was a nice pass, one of the better ones I saw last week. But all that to say, the Colts defense is legit. I think it'll slow down the Texans offense, and that might be an ugly week to be a Houston fan, at least the way I see it right now. Raiders and Washington football team, 2.5 points. I'll take the Raiders to win and cover that mark. If it gets out to 3.5, maybe I'll take Washington. They are playing some good football as of late, but ultimately it comes down to whose defenses make the biggest plays, right? I think that's the big question mark. If Washington's given up, splash plays, which I know they did beat Seattle and Russell Wilson didn't look good, but they still gave up some big plays to Tyler Lockett. So, it was a win for Washington on primetime, but you still saw some of those traits within this defense. They're prone to get gashed. They have those mishaps in the secondary in specific that give up 30, 40-yard plays. So if that's the case, the Raiders, especially with Deshaun Jackson, if he plays the entire game, could be a revenge game for him, right? I think that's a really interesting element. I then definitely feel pretty confident about Las Vegas. But on the other side, right, if the Raiders don't get any pass rush and that secondary is left there to be exposed, even though Casey Hayward has been pretty good, Nate Hobbs been a nice rookie, if they don't get home with the pass rush, that secondary is left out to dry. And then I think it could be Terry McLaurin coming down with big plays, Curtis Samuel if he's back out there, those sorts of options. So if the Raiders can get home with their pass rush, I feel pretty good about them winning at home, and especially considering I think they have the pieces on the offensive side to pick on a Washington secondary that has been prone to give up big plays. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for this one. Then we get to the Rams and Jags. Rams are great against teams that are below 500, so I have no worries about this one. Additionally, there's just not a whole lot that you look at the Jags roster compared to the Rams and say, oh, there's an advantage here. I will say, it is kind of funny. Technically, win percentage-wise and talking about the record, the Lions had a better November record than the Rams. Not something I had imagined saying a couple of months ago, but I think the Rams will win this one easily. This is not a game where you call to question LA and what they are. Get them a tough opponent, and then we'll continue to have this conversation of can they beat good teams in big games. Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. I got the Ravens winning and covering here. I just don't think Pittsburgh's offense is any sort of way of keeping up, right? Especially considering Marlon Humphrey, you expect to see him lined up on Deontay Johnson, and Deontay Johnson's been really impressive this year, and I think he's continued year by year. He's gotten better and better, but Marlon Humphrey's ability to pressure the line, that makes it so much tougher for a receiver like Deontay, who, in a lot of ways, I don't want to say needs a clean release, but it certainly makes his job a whole lot easier and adds to his speed element, what he can do after the catch, but also just as a downfield threat. But overall, I just like this. I like this Ravens team. And plus, Wink Martindale's, I'm terrified for what he's going to do when it comes to scheming up pressure, right? The Steelers' offensive line, we all know, is not good. So when you have Wink Martindale and Odafe Owe, Tyus Bowser, even the middle linebackers like Patrick Queen, who blitz often, and that defense, I'm worried about what that means for Big Ben and the Steelers' offensive line. I think that could be a long day in itself, and it could be another situation where this team's losing by 30 or more, which is not fun to say. But, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about the Ravens. Now, granted, this is one of the bigger rivalries in football, so things could get weird here, and it's in Pittsburgh. I get that. And Mike Tomlin got embarrassed last week. Not often he gets embarrassed twice in a row, but I just think when you look at the talent, it's not even close between these two teams. 49ers and Seattle Seahawks. I'm surprised this number's not even wider, honestly. You do get the hook with Seattle, and again, division games, these play out really weird. Playing in Seattle, that's a factor for sure, but two teams completely heading in opposite directions, right? The San Francisco 49ers are pounding the rock. Jimmy Garoppolo is looking like I don't want to say fully like he was in 2019 when they got to the Super Bowl, but he has been a nice compliment off of the running game. No Deebo Samuel definitely hurts, but Brandon Ayuk has started to become more and more of a factor. And granted, you lose Samuel, but at least you have George Kittle coming back last week, and now it's week 2 back. So you feel pretty good about that if you are a 49ers fan. And, Russell Wilson is not 100% healthy. And there were a couple throws against Washington where he was just trying to throw it to the flats, get his 5-6 yard pickup, and he sailed. It was one at the very beginning of the game, and there was one, I think, right before half or maybe right after half. And it's just like, wow, we never see Russell Wilson miss those throws. So you can tell the finger injury is still lingering. And then outside of Wilson and the 2 wide receivers, this team's pretty devoid of talent. They want to run the football, but they don't have the offensive line for it. I don't think they have the running backs for it, especially with no Chris Carson. So I don't know. I think this is getting closer and closer to the end of the Pete Carroll era. I think, honestly, I don't necessarily know if he'll be fired, but it might be just a mutual parting of ways, right? That's a term and a phrase that we hear more and more nowadays. So I think it's going to be a parting of ways situation once we get to the end of the year, but I'm speculating there. Then we get to the Chiefs and Broncos. I think Kansas City to win. I like the Broncos to cover this. The Broncos are playing good football, right? And they found ways, even without Von Miller, to be able to dial up pressure. I really like Malik Reed. I think he's someone who could potentially just be a legit Von Miller replacement. Not nearly the same caliber, but someone you feel confident having your starting, lineup on defense, right? And additionally, when this team has Jared Jeudy, it makes Teddy Bridgewater look that much better, and then it helps Courtland Sutton, and it helps, Tim Patrick, helps Noah Fant, Albert Okwuegbunam, whichever tight end you want to talk about. So I think there's some weapons here for Denver to try to keep it close, especially if Kansas City's defense proves to not be this all-world force that it has been the last couple of times we've seen them out on the gridiron. I think this team's defense has gotten better, and they've done a lot of those 1% changes, right? You want to see more Willie Gay, less Ben Nebet. You want to see more Juan Thornhill, less Dan Sorensen, all those sorts of things. You want to see Chris Jones move inside. They've done all these 1% increases, and it has made a difference. Now, I don't think this team is going to be the best defense in football like we saw them be, statistically speaking, in points per game allowed speaking, over the last couple of weeks that we saw them. But I do think this defense is vastly improved. But this would be a good show, right? Can you slow down Teddy Bridgewater and, I don't want to call it an efficient offense, but an offense that can just slowly but surely just churn out first downs. It'll be a fun game to watch for sure. Glad it's on primetime. And then we get the Bills and the Pats. I'm going with the upset pick here. I think the Patriots defense has what it takes to play a style of defense that causes the Bills problems, right? I think you'll see a whole lot of too high, and honestly, I think you'll see a whole lot of man-to-man. And J.C. Jackson, Stephon Diggs, get your popcorn ready. That is going to be a fun matchup to watch, no doubt about it. Additionally, the Pats have the ability to bring pressure, and especially if they can attack from the inside, right? This could be a big Christian Barmore game, or you'll see a lot of stunts. You bring Matt Judon through the middle. That's the weaker part of this Bills offensive line. I think there's some ability there for Bill Belichick to try to take advantage of that mismatch. And then on the other side of the ball, the Pats offense is just efficient right now. We'll see, how much of Mac Jones we even see in this contest. Honestly, I think this could be a Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson pound the rock contest and really try to test that Bills rushing attack. Didn't look very good against the Colts, and while the Patriots might not have as good of an offensive line, it's not far off. It's a good unit, and they have a couple of good backs. So I think this might be a run-heavy attack for the Pats offense and then play action off of it, and then you hit on one or two of those big plays, and Mac Jones makes one or two throws in this one. That could be all they need to come away with the win. Because I think this defense is going to be enough to stymie Josh Allen. Now, on the other side, where it really comes down to is, can the Patriots hit on those big plays? Or are we going to be looking at 17-14 Bills, which is going to be an interesting game in itself? Or this could turn into 31-17, where the Patriots just pour it on because they're running the ball efficiently. They hit on a couple of big pass plays, and the Bills are just kind of left stranded behind. So I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking right now. But tell me what you think down in the comment section. Tell me your picks for Week 13 of the NFL season. Give me some upset picks in specific. I'd love to have your thoughts. How many road teams do you think come with a win? Because clearly I think there's a handful that will be able to do so. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you did, hit that like button. It would help me out a ton. New to the channel, want to see more football content, just hit that big red subscribe button. That's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. Until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.